I am Marcus James Dixon with Gold Derby, and we would like to welcome Sarah Sherman, who just completed her third season as a cast member on NBC's Saturday Night Live. So, Sarah, when you think back at this recent 49th season as a whole, it just ended in May. What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
It was a lot. It was really fun. It was the busiest season I've ever had. Like, I finally got to do a season where it's like, you have to change your wig a million times an episode. And like, you have a bunch of quick changes. And I was like, by the end of the season, I'm like, why am I so much more tired at the end of the season than I have been at
Hmm.
the end of every other season? It's because like, oh, I had to like get an owl beak ripped off my face, got all the glue cleaned up, and got turned into a human woman in like 30 seconds. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that.
I do have to say, your chemistry with Colin Jost is absolutely brilliant. Every time you two are together on that weekend update desk, viewers are just laughing their butts off. And this year you played CJ Rosatano. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. The possibly teenage son of Colin. How much fun did you have doing that character?
It was so fun. It was like it was Martin Herlihy from Please Don't Destroy's idea to have me be like his son that he realizes like throughout the course of the thing, his long lost son. And it was really fun because like, we've written all these update appearances where I'm like giving Colin a hard time and being a pest. And so it's been like a fun challenge to think of like new and inventive ways to do it without it getting tired. And it feels like this like fun problem solving thing where we're like, okay, what are we going to do? There's a common goal to give Colin a hard time. And we know we're going to get there, but how we're going to get there is always a interesting journey.
You said you hope that it never gets tired. It never gets tired. As a viewer, I could see this every single week.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
another character you played at the weekend update desk was RFK Jr.'s brain worm. And it came with a fun accent and the wild costume, and you were sipping on a brain through a straw. That was a very timely story. It was in the news that week. And how happy were you that you were the one that got to do the brain worm?
Well, I saw the news story and I immediately texted every single member of Weekend Update and I was like, I got this one. Come on, y'all. Let me do it. Do it. So that was fun. That was like the first time this season I tried like a lot of different things that were new to me. Like I wanted to like, push myself to be like, what if I saw something in the news that week and tried to write for it and do something timely? Like that's new for me and that's like the challenge of the show. Like that is what the show is. And I've gone long enough like without like meeting the show. Like it's so scary to do something like that because you only have 2 days and limited time.
Hmm.
And so, but you just feel so supported because like all the writers are so funny. I hit up like Josh Patton, who's a weekend update writer, and Mike DeCenzo and Jake Nordwin, other two writers, and I was like, "You guys want to do this?" And they're like, "Everyone's excited for the challenge."
And I mean, kudos to the costume department for getting that
No,
worm costume ready in just a couple days.
unbelievable. You know what's funny too is like so much of the show is like a happy accident that you don't everything is so happening so fast that like the costume department was like, so you're a worm, so you don't want any arms, right? And they had me try out the costume with no arms, and I was like, no, I probably, and it's through like it's so fast, but you get to like try all these different things to see what's the funniest option. So we were sitting there and I'm in this little worm costume and I'm like, no, I think it's funnier if I have arms so I can slurp out of a brain smoothie. And that's when the costume department goes, we got this. And then they make the really gorgeous like worm gloves. It's all out of this like problem solving trial and error. It's
Hmm.
awesome. And the goal is like, how do we make this as funny as possible?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, is it funnier to have no arms or is it funnier to have arms? Like those are the questions that we are asking at work.
I love it. That's a fun job that you have. There's a few other sketches I wanted to bring up from this recent season. There was a shrimp tower, kind of like a pre-taped video where you're the Archduchess in a Victorian era palace. She gets thrown out of a window. She falls out of a tree, all because Josh Brolin thought that, you were going to knock over his precious shrimp tower. And can you talk about the physical comedy of that one? I feel like you're somebody who loves doing physical comedy sketches.
I really do. And what's funny is like we write a lot of these like physical pieces where like my head gets blown off or I get thrown out the window. And what's funny is like I don't even get to do that. It's a body double who is trained a trained stunt professional. So it's so fun. Like, I'll be up all night writing night and we're like, yeah, we're gonna get thrown out a window. And then I get there the day of the shoot. I'm like, oh yeah, like they can't do that. So it's funny that so much of my physical comedy is not done by me.
Hmm.
But I have perfected after getting my head knocked off so many times. I've perfected this the director Mike Diva has chopped my head off a lot and so we've worked on the head snap. So like you just get the perfect head snap and then they animate the head flying off. And I'm like I feel like I'm getting pretty good at the head snap.
Yeah, I think your head flew off in the tennis short film Battle of the Sexes with Jason Momoa when he was hitting the ball. First it went through your stomach, then it,
Uh-huh.
it knocked your head clean off.
Uh-huh. And so that was funny because it had to be like, it's Mike Diva saying you're playing tennis and now your head gets knocked off and then you do the next snap. And then the Scooby-Doo one, I had to run into a piano wire. So that was like a run into a neck snap. So now I've kind of like, what's the next version of the neck snap I'm gonna do?
There in the Kate McKinnon episode, there was this fake commercial for Pongo, this weird orange dog toy, and you played a mother who goes to extreme lengths to get rid of it. She's burying it in the backyard because it keeps creeping her out. She completely loses her cool. Talk about, playing a character that just can't keep her emotions down.
It's very comfortable for me to do that. It's like the hardest stuff for me on the show is like when I have to do a straight man character, I just have to be like, your table is ready. It's really hard for me because I feel like I'm fucking up or I'm not doing it right. And it's more of a challenge and you don't want to distract from the piece. And so I get in my head about stuff like that. But if I have to go crazy, like no problem. That's no problem at all. I love to do that. Um, and what's funny is like all the like manic breakdown stuff in Pongo, we shot like after like a really long day of filming really late at night. So I already was crazy. It was great. So it was great.
So not counting your current cast, I'm curious, do you have a favorite SNL cast member of all time? Maybe someone that you think is just the funniest that there's ever been.
Norm Macdonald.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He's my favorite comedian ever. Because he was just so I don't understand how it's possible to be so funny all the time.
Hmm.
Like, I can safely say that I've had like a bunch of like misses and failures. Like I've tried stuff on the show that just like hasn't worked. Um, and that's like part of the show. It's like part of the learning experience is like, all right, that didn't work. But I don't think I've ever seen him not be funny. He's
Hmm.
always funny. And he's always himself. Like his voice is so clear. He's never not being Norm Macdonald. It's just like amazing.
I always loved when he would be on like Conan or a talk show. He always just brought the perfect joke or the perfect bit. He was entertaining all the time.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how old were you when you got the bug to be on SNL one day? Do you remember when you first had that big dream?
I just wanted to be a comedian ever since I was a little kid. And I don't ever remember not wanting to be a comedian. It's like my whole life I've been annoying, so.
And how would you describe your humor overall?
Annoying, loud.
I wouldn't say annoying, maybe quirky. How about quirky?
Yeah, freakish.
Let's go back 3 years to your very first day, your very first episode. How nervous were you on your first show, and what do you remember most about that day?
I when I got the job, I was really nervous because I was like, this is impossible. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna be able to do this, like, and not die. Like, I legitimately was like, I'm gonna throw up, when I go on camera. But then by the time the first show actually happens, like everyone is so nice and supportive, and the community is so like tight knit. So you don't feel like you never feel like you're doing anything alone. You're never, even if you're like on Weekend Update and you're rolling out in a chair by yourself, like you're still with Colin, you're still with Michael, like you're never alone. The ceiling in the room is really low. The crowd is really tight and warm. So by the time the first show happened, I felt more comfortable than I thought. And that first show, I did this like Andrew Dismuke sketch about poop. And I was like, if this is what the job is, no problem. I felt like I was given a Christmas gift, My
Mhm.
first show, and a really funny cast member wrote a sketch that I get to be in. Like, I still owe him, I feel like, from that. I feel like I owe him a that meant a lot
Mhm.
for my first show to be so like warm and welcoming. I owe you, Andrew, if you ever see this.
There was a very special Mother's Day episode this year where all of the moms came and instead of doing like a normal cold open, you were all kind of doing a little bit with your moms. What was that like for you?
I thought I was gonna cry because my mom had always loved SNL, and I felt like she's been very supportive of me. Because I've been a comic for a long time, and there were a lot of ups and downs over the past 10 years, and I did a lot of crazy stuff. I made a lot of crazy videos. I was like peeing and pooping and bleeding, and my mom hung in there, was very supportive, and I really appreciated that. And I was glad that she got like, you know, it felt like a giving back moment to the moms. Like, you guys have all been so supportive, and now we're gonna give you a thank you.
And that episode was hosted by Maya Rudolph. I think that one and the Ryan Gosling one were the two funniest, strongest episodes of the year. I'm curious, what was it like working with those two as hosts, Ryan and Maya?
They were amazing. I would ask Maya questions, like literally, like I felt like a kindergartner, but I would literally be like, how did you come up with that character? How did you do that? Like, it's because now that I lived the job, I'm like, how did she do all that? It's amazing. Like, and it was so cool to see her work up close. Like, I got to hear her make all those crazy voices at the table read. There's like 40 sketches at the table read, and she's got a crazy voice for everyone. And it's like, that was amazing. And Ryan Gosling was amazing because like he's such a serious, committed actor. And he was like, we were in a sketch, we're doing stupid comedy sketches. They're 2 minutes long. And he's asking me like what my character motivation is. And I'm like, oh, I never thought about that. I don't, oh my God. And I was like, that his work is so good because he's like so seriously committed to being committed. And that's what makes it funny. Like he does
Mhm.
all this work beforehand. He's so prepared. He has so much like intention and makes so many interesting choices so that when the show actually comes, he's just having fun because he did all the work already.
Do you have a favorite host from the 3 seasons you've been on Saturday Night Live so far?
Um, it's hard to say. Like, I really like so many hosts have been so great, and like I have so much I'm so grateful for like hosts that were willing to like go there and be crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I really like appreciate, like I did a sketch my first year where I got to play like Chucky the killer doll. and that was hosted by Jake Gyllenhaal. And I'm like, the sketch was on the show because he liked it, and I was like so thankful for that. And then when he hosted again for the finale, we did another sketch that ended up getting cut after dress rehearsal, but it was also like a crazy thing, playing crazy characters who were screaming, and I was just so like, even though the sketch got cut, I just so appreciate when a host is like willing to just be insane.
Hmm. Do you have anyone on your dream list that you would just freak out if they became a host for maybe for season 50 coming up?
Like Keanu Reeves has never hosted.
Wow, yeah.
He would be awesome. John Waters would be John Waters would be my dream host, like, because he's just the funniest person alive. And like Johnny Knoxville would be a dream host too. For
Hmm.
me, like what he would probably do something crazy. Like
Hmm.
I would love to be there for that.
I love the idea of Jennifer Coolidge. I know she was supposed to be a host, but then I think it was the writer's strike that happened, so she couldn't be. I really want her to come back.
Me too. There's something too about when someone is so funny. I feel like there's like a lot of pressure. Like I feel put a lot of pressure on myself that week. I'm like, I have to come up with the funniest idea of all time. So I feel like if Jennifer Coolidge came, I would have like a total nervous breakdown.
Mm. Well, Sarah, before we go, final question. I mentioned season 50. It's coming up. What are your thoughts? I mean, that is an incredible number. And to be among the cast as 50 is happening, you must feel kind of special.
You know, it's it's crazy. It's like crazy. The scope of it is so wild to like be a part of something that's like so much, like it's so cool to be an ensemble because you're in something that's bigger than yourself, and it's even crazier to be in an ensemble that's part of even something greater than that, like it's part of an entire history and lineage of like amazing comedy. And it's nice to feel like so small in the face of like I'm just like a little speck on this like great like comedy icon that is SNL. And it's I feel thankful to be a part of it. And if I wasn't a part of it, my life would look way worse.
Well, thank you for chatting with us today, Sarah. I love you on the show so, so much. So it was very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.